and my son said to me, Mommy, is the man in shadow coming again tonight? Yes. And I said, What man in shadow?
What
He
man?
said,
Welcome to the Woo Woo and Real Estate Podcast. I'm Tigger, your host, and I'm glad you're here. This show is where intuition meets strategy, where we explore both investors and non-investors alike, and we use our gut instincts and spiritual insight to navigate and to build wealth. From real estate tips to divine timing, supernatural experiences, and mystical tools like tarot card readings, mediumship, Reiki healing. You'll hear all sorts right here. As a psychic medium myself, I'll soon be offering readings and to those who are seeking healing messages of love, hope, and peace. So stay tuned for that too. If you're ready to tap into your intuition, align with your purpose, whether it's in business or everyday life, let's dive into this week's episode. But before we do, please hit that like button, share with your friends, and subscribe to my channel today with my Instagram and YouTube channels, which are Sub2 Tigger2, and that's SUBTOTIGGERTOO. Facebook is at Tigger And if you want to learn how to invest with me, be part of my investing communities, come check out my affiliate links below to start your journey with me. Today's host is my very special guest, Luz Ramirez. She is in our communities as well. I want to welcome you, Luz. Welcome to the Woo Woo and Real Estate Podcast.
Thank you for having me on, Tigger.
I appreciate you being here. And in the evening, I know sometimes our schedules get a little crazy. We tried to do something last week. It didn't work out. But regardless, what I'd like to do is just kind of freeform this here and just kind of go in between our personal life before real estate, because not everybody is a real estate investor that watches this show. But I also like to talk about paranormal, spirituality, all things mystical, in between you getting into your real estate world and how that came into play for you. So why don't you tell a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into what do you have and what do you need in your real estate journey.
Sounds good. I will try to keep it really brief, but I'll start in the beginning. My parents are from Colombia, and I was born and raised here in the US. So that forms a big part of who I am, and anything related to the woo-woo and experiences I've had, I connect them directly to that as well, because I was raised hearing stories back from Colombia and all the things that would happen to our family members, grandparents, aunts, uncles. And so it was always a part of my experience in growing up. So with that said, I grew up here, very traditional Colombian household, but I was raised very biculturally and also bilingual. So I only spoke Spanish at home, but outside of the home, I spoke English. And so I grew up to be fluent bilingual, which opened a lot of doors for me in my career as I moved forward. So I went away to college. I was a performer. I spent a lot of time dancing, doing theater, singing, all the fun things in my youth. And then when I finally graduated from college, I did not pursue the performing world. I ended up coming back home. So I moved away to Chicago for a while, then came back home, which is Rockford, Illinois, and I've been here since then. I entered the field of education and I kind of worked my way up the ladder. I was there for 16 years. I started teaching. At the end, I spent about 16 of those years, about 11 of those years in administration. And in the end, I left and started running a nonprofit. So I was the executive director of a nonprofit focused on primarily on the Latino community in the northwestern part of Illinois. That agency, I ended up merging it into another nonprofit. It became a department there, and then I took the role as vice president and became the chief administrative officer, where I helped grow the agency to more than twice its size, added 3 additional departments, grew, I can't even tell you how many programs, and we ended up acquiring another organization. And so my role there was to strategically help grow the agency, which is actually what I ended up doing. The additional role was to help acquire and stabilize agencies that we would acquire, which is also the other thing I did. So I have my background really as a combination of all that. I'm very focused on education. I believe in education. I believe that everything happens through education and also the creation and building of things. And so for me, working in the service side of things, I'm able to not directly work with the clients and participants, but the creation of programs and services that need to be offered to them is what I really love because I can look for the gaps that exist and then provide those. So how did I end up in real estate?
Hold on, hold on, hold on. Stop right there. That was a lot. Like
Yeah, it is.
I'm like, but wait, there's more. But wait, there's more. So let's go back to your family heritage here. Did
Yes.
everybody in your family attend college?
No, I actually was the first generation college graduate. I'm the oldest grandchild on both sides of the family, and so I was the first college graduate for the whole family.
That's
Hmm.
awesome. And I kind of had a feeling that that was the case because that seems to be typical, not just so much for somebody coming to America from another country, but in my generation, you're not as old as me, but in my generation, some were going to college, some weren't, I went to the military, so I was actually the first one to graduate high school, which is a thing, right? Then went into the military, had babies, and then ended up going back to school online and getting my degree. So technically, I was the first one to go to college as well from my family. But anyway, wow, what a repertoire of amazing growth you've had in your experiences and the education part, how one of your biggest passions is education. So, where did you go from all of that into where you are now? And yeah, let's hear about the rest of that.
So interestingly enough, real estate was not something that was on my radar at all. And my husband was the one who brought it to me. And so my husband is loves to put stuff in front of me, and he knows that I'm a doer and an action taker. And so he loves to just kind of, hey, check this out. And next thing you know, I'm doing the thing. And so he's already learned that about me. And so everything he brings my way kind of piques my interest. And I'm like, oh, I soak it up, I learn all about it, and then I'm like, I have to implement. So he read Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I think most of us have kind of entered into real estate investing in through that route. And then that led me, I read the book, that led me to Bigger Pockets, which led me then to being part of an accountability group. And while I was doing that, my husband started, he dabbled in, he was an early adopter of Bitcoin, but he was such an early adopter of Bitcoin that he bought coins at $1 and $2, but sold when they hit about 600 or 900. So, yes, exactly. So early adopter, but also so early that he was like, wow, this hit big. I'm going to sell and make some money. And so, and then he sold some more later on. And so after
Wait, do
the
they own
so this
Bitcoin now at all?
Huh.
The-
Well, that was part of it. He then started working on our plan was to recover the Bitcoin that he sold up. So we did end up buying more later. And so how we ended up getting involved, we started getting interested in real estate, but his cousin was involved in real estate. And he he had purchased the Bitcoin, some Bitcoin. His cousin was in real estate and we wanted to get involved in real estate. So they agreed to do an agreement and swapped. So we ended up swapping a Bitcoin and a half for one of his properties, which for
Which
us,
was how much was that?
so at the time that we bought that Bitcoin and a half, it was probably around $9,000. Yes. But by the time we bought the property, the Bitcoin was already valued at about $58,000. We were able to cash out refinance, take that money, put it into another property, do the same thing, cash out refinance, take that money, put it into, and so that's how we ended up going into real estate. How did I find Pace Morby? That was another story. I ended up in an accountability group with some people that I met in Bigger Pockets, and two of them ended up, the three of us ended up getting really close and doing a lot of, let's just say we were at a different level compared to the fourth person in our group. And so we were ready to take it to the next level. And so one of them said, hey, let's find out if we can join Sub2 creatively. after we had already get joined Gator. And so he reached out and they were able to bring us in as a team. We started a business, an LLC. We became partners and then we joined creatively. So we were able to make payments for a whole year. And so anyway, that's how I ended up into the Pace Morby world. And now they are together doing TCing and they are partnered up with somebody else and they have a pretty big outfit going. So I'm very proud of how they ended up finding what they
Evolving.
wanted to do,
Yeah.
their niche. Yes.
Yes, and it is such so I've been almost 3 years here in the sub two community. It'll be April, 3 years. I didn't
Oh,
really get started until like the second year. I quit my job as a marketing director for a nursing home. Um, so I didn't really even know then really what I was trying to get into. So I started doing the Gator program, little EMD here and there, and private money lending. Anyway, it basically took me down this lane. So I love how there is no limits to the different opportunities that people can get into. And I'm sure they will eventually go down a different lane after they get done, setting this TC business up. And same for you, right? And same for me, like just like finding my lane into starting to talk about commodities and who knew, right? Um, so what is it now that you're doing that kind of either formed well, first of all, let's talk about you just recently quit your job.
I did. I did. It was so I'm I'm a planner. And so this did not happen overnight. I actually started planning this right after COVID. My husband and I had, really interesting conversations about what is it that we really want in life. And that led us to deciding that we did not want to be in W-2s any longer and that we really needed to plan for something differently. And that was actually how we ended up into the real estate investing world. That was how we moved into that.
Very cool.
And we knew that that was going to be our path to get us out. And he left his W-2 first, and it was at a point when we had enough properties that he could do the property management. And then he's also been working with his cousin who has a landscaping and a roofing company. So he's been helping him out with all the work that he has. So it worked out for us for him to leave first. And then mine was a 2.5 year plan, basically. It was meant to be a year, but I wanted to make sure that everything was in place. So it had to do with building the capacity of my supervisors into directors. I wanted to make sure that everything had been passed on where there were no missteps, nothing got missed. I felt a
Mm.
huge responsibility when I brought over the one nonprofit. I dissolved a nonprofit, brought it over into this new nonprofit as a department. And so I felt a huge responsibility to make sure that that was successful and
Of
nothing
course
fell
you
through the
did.
cracks.
Of
Yes.
course you did.
And so once I felt that that was completely stabilized, um, I was like, okay, yeah, I think I'm ready to exit. And when I told my CEO, and she and I were really good friends, which is how we ended up working together in the first place, she told me, "Can you do it part-time?"
Mm.
And so I was ready to leave, and she was like, "Can you stay on part-time? Is that possible?" I said, "Well, let me go back and talk to my husband." We talked about it, and I said, "You know what? Maybe we're not ready to pull the plug immediately. So yeah, maybe part-time is a good idea." And so in January of 2023, I did go part-time. And then she just said, give me enough warning so that I know when I can find somebody to replace you. And in the end, as we got closer, we agreed that I would leave in June of this year, of 2025. Um, but things got crazy for me. And as I got busier and I love what I'm doing. And I was just working day to night, completely day to night, every day and weekends. And deep down inside me, I was hoping that I didn't have to see it through all the way until June, but I gave her my word. And so my commitment was until June. And that was what I was going to stick with. Well, it just turns out that I started posting a lot on social media about consulting for grants, and it was called to my attention. And I was told that if I wanted to continue doing that, I should take a leave of absence, which was perfect for me. And that's what I did. On January 30th, I took a leave of absence and I was supposed to go back in March and April to help with the new grants coming in and the renewal. But there is a lag on grants right now. because of the federal government reviewing where the funding is going, how the funds are being spent, that
Oh,
not, yeah.
yes, big
So
time looked
there are
at.
not a lot of grants coming out right now. So, well, the state has kind of, they've been holding back, I think, and especially Illinois
Hmm.
is not one of the
Wow.
friendlies to the new
Doge. Yeah.
organization, yeah, administration. So I think they're just kind of holding off to see what happens. So anyway, at that point, we agreed that I would go back and just help out as a consultant as needed. And so officially, I'm done. So I've gone back twice to help them out, and we'll see where that moves, that, what happens in the future. But as of right now, I am self-employed and focusing on my business.
That's freaking amazing. And you say self-employed, and you also have your hand big time in the very mentor that you came to know through Bigger Pockets, Pace Morby. And you are very much an integral part, you and Bertie both, with the Owners Club and helping people get their act together, basically. And I honestly do not know how you both have done it and kept everybody accountable, and did your own job and your own side hustle business here in the real estate world. I mean, we just talked a little bit before we got on how busy we really are, but to do that exponentially on top of it with 400 Owners Club members, kudos to you guys. Like, seriously, we can't thank you enough. We love you both and appreciate Pace. Like, even on our last Sunday Zoom, Pace talking about you guys, like he was gonna like just let the deal maker show just not happen last month, but you and Bertie just took the reins by the horns by the whatever, and
The bull by the
um,
horns.
bull by horns, and took charge and helped to keep that going. So it's obviously the work ethic that you have and what you have done proving that you're just when you're into something you are all in it. So thank you for all that you do for us, for me in the Owners Club, for the communities, and for Pace, of course. But let's get into a little bit of fun things. So let's and then we'll come back to where you want to go after this. So let's kind of dial it back a little bit and talk about woo-woo and spirituality and paranormal and things that you've seen and through your properties that you have owned. Like, I know we talked a little bit about this, but I want everybody else to kind of know what you have seen as a kid, and to where you are now. What's happening now? Has anything happened now? Like, where are you at with all of that?
Yeah. So, as a child, I always saw things. It was just the weirdest thing, and I would tell my mom and she'd say, "Oh, it's nothing, you're just dreaming, come up with different reasons." And at some point, I just stopped telling her what I saw. But I always remember having seeing these floating heads. I don't know why, but I'd walk, I would walk into rooms and I would see these floating heads. And that was as a child. It's just a memory. That's just what I remember, but maybe there was more to it. I don't know.
Were you
I
scared?
I don't think I was scared. I don't remember, but I don't think I was scared. I remember bringing it up and just my mom brushing it off like it's not a big deal. And so that was very, very young. I must have been around, I don't know, maybe 3, 4 years old. I remember that. As I got older, I would sense things, I would feel things, and it was just like the hair raising on my arms. And I remember talking one night we were laying on the floor just watching TV, and my mom and I were just talking, we're just talking about stuff, and she was telling me about her when she was a child, and she starts telling me a story about her great grandmother. And again, it was one of those stories of, the grandmother didn't listen and she went out and she took this beautiful ceramic pot that she was not supposed to take to the river to do laundry, and she took it and broke it, and she had been told not to take it. And then when she broke it, this wind came and picked her up and then threw her by the house, and she was all scratched up. And well, it was just the weirdest story.
The story,
I'm
yeah.
I'm just like listening to my mom, like, oh my gosh, this happened. And all of a sudden our door flies open. And I'm like, oh my God. And she's like, it's okay, it's not a big deal. And this door was not a door that would fly open. I mean, it
Yeah.
literally just blew open. So for me, I was like, okay, that was freaky. And then that was an old house that we lived in, and other things happened in that house, but I don't remember. I just know things happened. Like doors would close, doors would open. Uh, when I started really remembering things is when we moved to another house. And my parents, we had a lot of family that came and moved in with us after a while. My they immigrated from
Sure.
Colombia. They all got their visas almost at the same time, and so we split up families. And half of them came to our house, the other half went to my other aunt, my aunt's house. And so my dad built two rooms in our basement, so I would have one, and then the other one my brother had. But mine did not get insulated, and so in the winters I would go and I would sleep in my brother's room. And he had this huge waterbed, a king size waterbed, which took up almost the entire room. His room did not have any windows, and it had a closet, the water bed. I don't know if you remember water beds, but it was
Oh,
just a
yeah.
thick base on the bottom, and
Yeah.
yep,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
couldn't put anything under the bed because it was just the base on the bottom.
Yeah.
And so one night I needed to go to the restroom, and so I rolled over out of bed, and I must have been, I don't know if it was like 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning. 3 o'clock is not a good time, but yeah, that's usually the time I would
Your
wake up.
witching hour.
Yeah, exactly. And so I rolled out of bed and then I walked over to the door and I went to pull the door open and something inside me made me look back. And so I turned around as I grabbed the door and I looked back and I saw this white girl sitting on top of him and she was naked and she was blonde with a bob and she turned around and she looked at me right as I turned around and looked at her. And I immediately became infuriated and I
So
stepped
you're
outside.
seeing a full apparition of a woman naked on
Uh,
top of your brother where he's
yes,
sleeping. He has no
he's
idea this is
sleeping.
happening.
I didn't see him. I only saw her like straddling on the bed. And then she turned around and looked at me. So I went outside, I stepped out of the room, I slammed the door and I sat on the steps. There's no exit out of the basement unless you go up the steps. We didn't have egress windows, or there wasn't even a window on that side of
Sure.
the bed of his room. So I sat there and I was angry and I was infuriated. I'm like, how dare he bring somebody into the room while I'm there? That's disgusting. I'm
Yeah.
just laying there and I'm laying there and I'm sitting there and I'm sitting there and nothing. I felt like I had been there forever. Maybe about 20 minutes went by. I did not go to the restroom. I just sat there and finally I'm like, how is she not coming out? I couldn't understand why she didn't come out. So I
Yeah.
threw the door open, I flipped on the lights, and I started yelling at him. And no reaction whatsoever. He is passed out. No reaction. And I'm looking behind the door and I ran over to the closet. I threw the closet doors open and I'm looking on the floor. I'm looking around. Nothing. There was nobody there. Absolutely nobody. And I went over to shake him and he was out.
Like would
Dead,
not wake up.
would not wake up, dead to the world. And
Whoa.
yeah, and so I was like, what the heck? So I went to bed and
Went to
the next
bed.
day, yeah, I
In
went back to
did he
bed.
say anything to him? I would have been like,
Well, he wouldn't wake up. I couldn't get him to wake up, and I didn't know what happened. So I went, I went to bed, and then the next day when he woke up, he was like, I had it was so weird last night. It's like you were making a lot of noise and yelling. He goes, but what was going on? And so at that point, I told him what happened, and he was shocked. You know, and so that happened there to me. And then other things that would happen in that house. We had things that happened. We had a pool table, a billiard table actually. And from time to time, we would put the balls together and then they would just get thrown apart. It's my brother would like playing that game. It became a game where he would go and do it and they'd get split apart. And then my bedroom door,
so you
we
mean
had a very
he was taunting it or asking it to do
so
that, like
because
do it.
yeah, well, once he found out that there was something there, he'd
Yeah.
do that, and I stayed away from anything having to do with that. And my room had a very thick carpet, and the door had to be pushed shut or pulled open.
Yeah.
And that door, from time to time, would just open, would close. So strange things. Later, I heard my mom would say that somebody would call her name in the basement. So I don't know. The weird thing is at that house, when we bought it, we were the first family to live in it. It was a brand new construction.
Wow.
So
Wow.
Yeah, so I never understood,
So,
why.
so let's think about this. So do you think something followed you there? Like your family? Because it is a new structure. Like usually
Yeah.
energy stays if they feel comfortable or something traumatic or they don't know that they've passed. Do you think that maybe perhaps some things followed you, like your family there?
I wonder about that, and that's only a new thought that I had. I always thought that it was something in the house, and then I wondered if maybe something had been following us, because later on I would feel other things and hear things would happen, and so I always wondered, okay, is something following me or is something following us? What is it? So I don't know, maybe, but I don't know where we would have picked them up, and I don't. I
It's
know it wasn't anybody close to us either.
Yeah, it's
It,
hard
yeah.
telling. And, sometimes people, spirits just transfer into something that they like, the environment they like, or whatever. So, do you have anything going on now at your current home? Or have you
Uh,
still had
s-
experiences?
so once I had experiences all through my college years, and then once I got married, they stopped.
Mm.
And so I don't know what happened there. I don't know if it was like a piece or something that I found or just the companionship. I don't know, but everything I stopped seeing, I stopped sensing. So that stopped. However, my children have seen things. And in our house, I've never felt anything. And I always think it's just, I'm like, there's nothing here. I don't feel anything. And we moved into this house in 22. So we're going on, so 22, we're going on 3 years now since we've been here. I've never sensed anything, never seen anything. But my daughter claims that she does see, that she has seen a shadow in the house in a couple times. My son has sensed things when we were in New York one time in a hotel. He was very little. He was 5 years old, and I had my nieces. My sister was there. We had two rooms in this hotel. My daughter stayed with me. My one oldest niece, who always saw things as a child, and then my son. They all stayed with me, and then all the others stayed with my the other two nieces stayed with my sister. And we got up the next day. My sister was going with her brother, her husband, to celebrate their anniversary. And so I had all the kids with me, and we were walking to St. Patrick's Cathedral down Fifth Avenue. And my son said to me, "Mommy, is the man in shadow coming again tonight?" Yes. And I said, "What man in shadow?"
Wet
He
man.
said, "Yeah, what man?" He said, "Well, last night there was a man, and a man in shadow, and came to the room." I said, "Okay. Um, I'm sure you had a dream. Let's go to church and then we'll talk later." So we went to mass and got to mass and everything. And then later we were going to Coney Island. So we got on the train and we're sitting there just enjoying our ride. And all of a sudden he starts up the conversation again. Mommy, I need to know if the man in shadow is coming again tonight." I was scared and I'm like, okay, all right. And I looked at my niece and my niece immediately looked at me and said, I think he
Yeah.
saw something. So
Yeah.
I said, okay, tell me exactly what happened. So he said, well, we were in the bed, and he goes, and I woke up and I sat up on the bed when I saw a man standing by the mirror. And I said, where was he? And he said, he was to that side of the mirror, and I was here. And then he said, and when I sat up and looked at him, he started to come closer. But I got scared, so I put my head under the blanket. And so I'm like, okay. Um, he explained something, he broke it down and explained
Thoroughly,
exactly
yes. Yeah.
what.
In
And
detail.
in detail. And I said, okay. So then I texted my sister and I said, hey, I have all the sensitive people with me, including myself. Is there any way that we can switch rooms? Because something visited us last night. My
Yeah.
sister has never seen anything. She's never sensed anything, and neither had my other nieces. And so we agreed and we moved. So yeah, we ended up switching and everything was fine, except that funny story, my sister now knew this, but she didn't tell my nieces anything. And so our room happened to be a larger room and it had this reclining chair in it. And the next day when she woke up, the reclining chair had been moved. And she started to freak out. And she started asking the girls, who moved that chair? Did anybody move that chair? Who moved this chair? Nobody moved the chair, according to them. Later, we found out that my nieces were scared to say anything. One of them had moved the chair, but because my sister was freaking out, she
Like
did
they were going
not
to get in trouble.
confess.
Like, what are you doing moving the chair?
Yeah, so she didn't
Leave the
confess
things
to it.
alone. That's so funny.
My sister thought it was because of the spirit having
The
moved the
ghost.
chairs. So
Yes.
anyway, yeah, that was our one experience with my children. I now know that my kids, well, I kind of knew early on that they sensed and saw things, but yeah.
It's usually passed down, and everybody can do that. Um, Children are more susceptible to it because they don't have these, they are told that it's wrong, or, they're not told that it's wrong or that you're not seeing it, that you made it up type of things yet. So that's why they see things so freely, and it is happening more and more. But anyway, so to this day, you still sort of have a couple things here in the house, which is awesome. And it doesn't sound like it's not like you're afraid. Nobody's messing with you. I feel like maybe when your college years, maybe it was your guardian angel, a family member kind of watching over you until you married your husband and he's taking care of you. So there's no need no more for them to be around physically or sensing them. But I love this stuff. I could talk about this stuff all day long.
Yeah. And it
So
was
let's
interesting
talk.
because I was going to say when my daughter first started, when she was very little, I could, she started talking about things. And so I told my husband, I said, let me take this. I can handle this. I said, I've been through this and I don't want to be that person who tells her, no, you're not seeing anything.
Yes.
Because I know that I went through that and I was told you're not seeing anything. So it
Yeah.
was very more of a natural transgression of, it's okay. Sometimes you'll see things and they're not here to do you any harm. And if somebody does, if you feel it is doing you harm and or you are afraid and they're causing you fear, then we'll do something else. But in the meantime, just come look for me whenever this happens. And it's been fine, yeah.
That's sup-
So
that's awesome. Yeah. I used to see things too all the time. In fact, I thought I saw the tooth fairy once.
you probably did.
Probably did. Okay, so let's go back to you're in Rockford, Illinois.
I
That's not such
am.
a great neighborhood. And you have kind of started a little thing about revitalizing your town. Are you still doing that? Where are you at with that?
So
Is that a
I've
big?
been, I have met, I have a really good relationship with the city and with the mayor and the administration, and only because of the positions I've had in the community. So I was in a high position in in the school district, and then when I moved into the nonprofits and whatnot. So they've known me, and I've known them for different reasons and stuff I've done in the community. As far as an investor, that was a newer role. And so once I started moving into investing, I started looking at okay, what are the issues out here and what are the problems? I started connecting with them on that side. The other piece is that I have been sitting on the Illinois Housing Development Authority board now for I think I just started my third term. So I've been on there for 8 years. And this is a statewide board that processes all the funding that we receive from the federal government for low income tax credits for affordable housing. Aside from that, they have a lot of products that they create, loans and opportunities for families who may not be at the income levels where they can acquire loans to help them out and to give them some additional support. So there have been some opportunities to get funding to reduce your student debt while you can still get a mortgage for your property, first-time home buyers, young home buyers. So anyway, through that board that I've been sitting on, I pretty much represent our area. And so that has been a very good pipeline for me to be able to work with the city and the mayor and the surrounding counties on housing and the need for housing. And we're all going through a housing crisis. Every city claims, can state that they have a housing crisis. Development started after the crisis happened. And so no new developments have been taking place. Right now, we're starting to see that happening again. But for a while now, there was no new construction. And so we're really dealing with a lot of houses that are just not in good condition, close to the point of maybe they should be demolished,
Mm,
or needing very, very serious rehab. And so we're
mhm.
seeing a lot of that in Rockford, especially in certain areas of Rockford, the west side, and then more of the central part of the city. So being part of being in IDA and being in the real estate investing world has given me the opportunity to be able to connect with them on a different level and then see if there are any ways that I can work towards helping reduce this crisis in our area. And so
That's
yeah, right
awesome.
now it's exploring how I can help and what I can do here in my community.
We recently saw several news castings and articles about Rockford being one of the most up and coming cities in
That
Illinois.
is
So
correct. That is
that's
correct.
so awesome to hear and for you to be able to be a part of that too. So what do you have that you're currently doing that you're needing help with? What is it that somebody can bring value to you? What do you need? What do you have? What do you need?
I'm going to give you the answer that everybody seems to have is money. So in our world of real estate investing, obviously we need money to be able to keep the work going. So what we were doing before was we would take our properties and we do a cash out refinance, take that money and then put it into another property.
Say that
Okay.
again because
Oh,
you're
you're losing me. Okay. I said what we would do before was we would take a property, do a
yep.
cash out refinance. We would take our funds and then put them back into another property. And then we'd have to work on that property, get it up to speed, get it fixed up, and then wait until we could do another cash out refinance and then take the money again and then put it into another property. So it's a very slow process. And so if you don't have money readily available, then you can't continue doing it, and you can only go as fast as what you can put in. So for me, obviously, private money lenders, anybody who's interested in investing, who would be willing to be a partner as well. But that is what I'm looking for. I'm also looking for properties, even though Rockford is now being listed as the number one market, turnaround market. It's hard to find the properties, or the properties that are available are not in great shape. And so they're going to require a lot of money to put into them, but the ARV is not going to come up very high. So that's the problem I'm seeing. I'm struggling with finding properties that I can push the ARV above 100,000. So,
So I think you're talking to the right person.
yay,
So
that's fun.
are you used to 3 months seasoning or 6 months seasoning before you take out your cash out of your properties?
I'm used to 6 months seasoning. And then right now, I actually was able to do one fairly quickly. I found somebody to do a DSCR with. And so they were able to do one fairly quickly.
So
We were able to get our tenants in there and then move that one quickly.
amazing.
So, yeah,
So I can help you out. So we have also programs that you don't have to have any seasoning for.
that's wonderful.
Yeah, so
That's
we'll
wonderful.
have to talk after the show.
Yes, yes, let's do
Um,
that.
what else? What else? Okay, so sometimes I throw in a special hidden talent that nobody knows that you have.
A random hidden talent. Oh, I used to have a talent. I feel like I'm too old now. I'm past that stage. I was a performer. I was a dancer, loved dancing.
Like all things
And,
dancing? Are we talking cheerleading dance? Like what are we
oh
talking?
no, all things dancing, all things. I started when I was 3 years old. And so it started with traditional Colombian dancing. I actually was in a Colombian dance company in Chicago, and I did flamenco. I
Oh
did
my gosh,
flamenco
I
dance.
love that. That's a pretty freaking awesome talent to have. All that.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And so when I went to Chicago, that was the one thing I wanted to do was make sure that I went to Northeastern Illinois specifically I went to Columbia College, but I also went to Northeastern Illinois so I could take classes there at the same time. And then I loved tap dancing. I did a lot of modern dance, which is now contemporary. I did musical theater, loved musical theater, did musical theater all through my college years, high school and college years, and absolutely loved
Holy
it.
cow.
And then I sang in a band for 10 years.
What the heck
And
kind of a band did you sing in? What was
it
this? I
was
never knew this
it
either.
was a Latino band in here in Rockford. And so we actually are in the what do they call it? The Rammys Hall of Fame for having won awards for I think that you once you win 5 years of awards as the best band in your category, then you go
What?
into the Hall of Fame. So yeah,
That is
that's
so cool. You know what? I brought this up for our last, I think it was our Boston retreat. We should have a talent show, an owners club talent show.
so you know what I wanted to do? I wanted to do a flash mob for Squat Up, but then I realized that I was taking on way too much in such short amount of time.
You overachiever, you.
I
Yes.
know. And then I looked at the calendar and I kind of went, wait, I'm going to put this together in 4 weeks. There's no way I can get this together in 4 weeks.
Yeah,
So I want to do it for next one, next squad
that
up.
sounds like a plan. That sounds like a plan. But yeah, I still think we should have a owners club. What did I say?
Talent show.
Talent show. Thank you.
That
Already
would be
lost
fun.
my thought. But yeah, that would be pretty cool. Like people like yourself, we would have no freaking idea that you did all that. Now, I don't think I really have I could do my psychic readings. I could do a reading for somebody. That's what I
That's
could
a
do.
huge talent.
Yeah.
That's a huge talent.
Everybody has it. Everybody has the ability. It's just you have to train yourself and, hone your skills in. That's all.
I guess I would say the same thing about dance. Everybody has the
Yeah.
ability. Yep.
That's true. That's true. Amazing. Well, how can people reach you?
Well, they can reach me at, oh, I have a landing page now
Yes.
at getadealwithlose.com.
Very cool. Very cool. And
Yes.
does that have all of your social media links as well?
It does have my social media links on there as well. Yes.
Okay, cool. So I want to thank you so much for being here tonight. I appreciate your time and squeezing me in before our big week of Owners Club. Well, I say squad up, but Owners Club family reunion because that's what it is with our small 360 some people that we get to see
Yes.
together several times throughout the year. But Luz Ramirez, thank you so much for your time. And I appreciate you. And I want to thank you for being a part of the Woo Woo and Real Estate podcast. And I look forward to seeing you all. If you have not hit that like, share, and subscribe button yet, please do so now. And we'll see you next time on the Woo Woo and Real Estate podcast. And you can click the links below to join me in investing or if you need any type of funding. So thank you all.